is good, good people? You are now listening to another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we're joined by an extremely special guest. You know, when you're online and you find find your tribe, so to speak, and especially when you find people like-minded people on the internet that are drawn into subjects such as hip hop and baseball, you tend to hit your wagon to that same energy, and so we have a first-time guest today. He's holding it down for the 717, Harrisburg, PA. He's a rapper. He's a baseball enthusiast like myself, man. And it's great to finally link up with this good brother. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Cordell in the building. Cordell, what's good, bro?
What's going on? What's going on, Danny? What's the deal, man? Happy to be here.
Man, happy to have you on. So, first and foremost, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Talk to us what growing up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania was like.
So I'm from just outside the city, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, it's Harrisburg for all intents and purposes. If I was describing it to somebody like yourself, I would say Harrisburg. But you know, when you grow up here, like people consider it a small town, but like it's really not by traditional small town standards. You know, it's got about the metropolitan area got over 100,000 people. You know what I mean? So
wow.
It ain't. Yeah, it's not small in that regard. But you know, when you concentrate that to Black folks and you know what I mean, obviously the number becomes a little smaller. So it's cool. It's one of them everybody knows everybody kind of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So see, you're also a hip hop artist. So what was it that initially sparked your interest into hip hop?
Just the overall aesthetics of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I mentioned this in an interview I did with WITF, a broadcast station in my area, and I was just the aesthetics of it, like the way that the guys, you know, the rappers looked on the TV. They talked the way that I saw people I looked up to, you know, around my way, or older cousins and relatives talk. They dressed the way that I aspired to dress. It just looked cool. You know what I mean? It looked like something I wanted to do.
So was there a particular song that made you say, man, I want to try my hand at this rap thing?
I think I probably mentioned this before too, but I think it's the Nas, but there was Nas had performed on all that. And that always stuck out to me for some reason. You know, he you know, Nas was, I was just coming into the consciousness of understanding who Nas really was. And, you know, it was something powerful about it. So I would say that, you know what I mean?
Okay. So do you remember your first rap that you ever wrote?
No, I do not. I've been writing raps probably since, I remember it was at indoor recess, you know, at school on that little yellow tablet paper. And I remember it was raining, but it was hot. And you know that yellow tablet paper, you be getting stuck to it when you're sweating. You know what I'm saying? And I remember like writing and my arm getting stuck to this shit. And I remember coming home and actually reciting it for my parents. And I remember them kind of having no fit. It just was kind of like, you're supposed to be in school learning. This is what you're doing. But they didn't discourage it. But no, I don't remember my first rap. Nah.
Okay. Well, talk about what it was like the first. What was the first song that you released?
Oh, first song I released. So, you know, the MySpace era had jumped off. So digitally, it was a freestyle over Quiet Storm Mobb Deep. And I remember putting it out on MySpace. I didn't know anything about, you know, the internet. This was all new, you know what I mean, at this time. So you know, the guy that I recorded at his crib, a guy named Steve, and he was like, yo, you just gonna post it on your MySpace page. And I'm like, okay. And I went to school that next day, and people was looking at me like, you know what I mean? Like I was some sort of prophet. Like, what the hell? You know what I mean?
Man, that's dope. And to see you go from that to just last week getting to rock the stage with State Property, man, that I know that had to be something on your bucket list to knock off. So talk about what that experience was like.
I've opened up for people before, but I've never had the opportunity to open up for artists that I grew up listening to. Like I opened up for EPMD, and obviously they legends in the game. I got a lot of respect. Eric Sermon's actually probably my favorite producer, but
Okay.
State Property was different because I experienced that music in real time at an impressionable stage in my life as a teenager. This was the music that me and my boys was listening to, especially being from Pennsylvania. We got the PA connection, being they Philly and we Harrisburg. That's only 2 hours, down the road. So it was huge for me. And then getting to meet the guys. Siegel was unable to make it because I guess he was dealing with some illness. But so it was kind of sucked I didn't get to see him, but Freeway and PD Crack and Young Chris, it was surreal for sure. You know what I'm saying? Those was my guys.
Oh man, that's incredible. So shout out to you for really putting pen to paper, so to speak, and really making things happen. Super proud of you, man.
Yeah. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
So now we're going to get into this baseball thing. So what were your earliest baseball memories?
Just as a little kid, I remember it being I remember gravitating towards baseball before like any of the other ones. Probably basketball and baseball. Like, baseball was, I don't know, man. I think it just sort of appealed to me in a different way, as a kid, during that time in the 90s, Sandlot and just, there's a popular phrase that you're probably familiar with that's going around social media. They say it's hard not to be romantic about baseball. And I think it just kind of spoke to the kid in me, even though I wasn't very good at it. You know what I mean? It's a fun game. It happens during a time of year where school is letting out, the weather is nice, and it just has a lot of positive connotations attached to baseball season for me. So those are my sort of earliest memories as a kid,
So was your father into baseball?
Yeah, but not like hardcore. Like he's a Phillies fan, you know what I'm saying? But he didn't like play baseball in high school or nothing like that. He just watched it. He just a sports head, you know what I'm saying?
Got you. So did you try your hand at Little League?
Yep, and I wasn't good. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, same here.
And while I wasn't good, it wasn't. But you know what? Let me not say that. I didn't give myself a chance because I always felt compromised playing sports. I played all of them, you know what I mean? But I always felt compromised playing sports, like because you have to get better in front of people. And that made me uncomfortable. I wanted to be, Ken Griffey Jr. out the gate. And if that wasn't a possibility, then I didn't want to do it at all. I didn't want to have to suffer through the embarrassment. And you already know, black kids is rough, man. If you're not good at something, yes, they definitely gonna let you know. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little rough for me in that way, and I guess I wasn't thick-skinned enough for it. So,
well, what position did you play?
I didn't even make it that far, Daddy. It was. You know what I mean? I was young. I probably gave it up around 8 or 9. You know what I'm saying? So you still figuring it out at that time, and I'm playing all the positions. You know what I mean? And again, with varying rates of success. You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough. So how did you become a Mariners fan being from PA?
I will direct this question back to you and ask you to take a wild guess, my brother.
Is it the kid by chance?
There it is.
Boom.
There it is. You know what I mean? Ken Griffey was ubiquitous. Like, who didn't like Ken Griffey? You know what I mean? Who didn't like Ken Griffey? Then, he had the fly sneakers. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if anybody else had a signature shoe. Maybe Nomo. I think the Nomos may have came out prior to the Griffies. But I mean, he had a shoe and he was all on the cereal boxes. He had a video game, Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest for 64. And he's also, he's just a hard guy to not root for. So that's how I became a Mariners fan. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. So do you have any favorite moments or favorite memories as a Mariners fan?
It's funny. I got more, what I want to say. I got more Mariners mishaps at the forefront of my mind than I do
Okay, we
Mariners
can talk,
magic. You know what
you can share that too.
But obviously the 116 win season, you know what I mean, with Ichiro and all those guys. I mean, I was still following it. I remember being, still following it and seeing it on ESPN in the morning. I was probably about 6th grade, 7th grade around that time. The biggest I would tell. Okay, let's go this. The favorite Mariners memory I have: 2022 AL wild card, Blue Jays, game 2. We come back, 7-run deficit. I mean, I never seen nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm thinking it's over, and we stormed all the way back. So that is probably my favorite, most recent memory. And then the worst came not shortly after the next series against the Astros. I don't know if you remember, but Scott Service, it's 9th inning, where Mariners are up 7-5. George Kirby gets taken out. We got 2 guys on base. He hit by pitch. And I think Jeremy Pena, the young guy they got over there in Houston, was on base as well. So we got 2 men on, Yordan Alvarez, Air Yordan.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Which I see what your Texas Rangers had.
yeah.
You know about Air Yordan.
Man, I'm sick of him.
So he comes. Oh my God. So look, he come to the plate, and Scott Service wants to go lefty on lefty. Even though I don't know what was going on. He wanted to go lefty on lefty, but the numbers suggested that you don't do that. You know what I mean? Like Yordan Alvarez had destroyed. He'd been kicking Robbie Ray's ass all season. He gets up there. Robbie Ray gets up there. I think he fouls off the first pitch. And then the second one, he walked it off. And, it was 8-7. So that's my worst and most prominent Mariners memory, unfortunately. That just the heartbreak of that loss, man. That is awful.
Man, playoff Yordan Alvarez, I cannot stand him.
That guy is a bad boy, man.
Yeah, he is.
Bad boy.
He is. So who are some of your other favorite Mariners players?
Of course, Ichiro.
Oh, that goes without saying right there.
Of course, Ichiro. Of course, the King. Of course, King Felix. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? Of course, Randy, when he was there. Mike Cameron, I don't know if you remember him. He was there for a little bit. You know 44. What I mean? He was cool. Right. Buhner. I like J-Rod. I like the young guy J-Rod. He had kind of a rough year last year, but hopefully he can turn it around this year. Baseball funny like that. So, but yeah, those are probably some of my favorites.
So who's some of your favorite non-Mariners players?
Jesus. As a little kid, Ripken, Chipper, Pudge, Rangers guy, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Pudge. Yeah, he always liked Pudge. Jeter, of course, the captain.
Yep.
So many. Sheffield, Tony Gwynn, rest in peace, Ricky Henderson, you know what I mean? Definitely him. So, a lot of guys. Piazza, we would be here all day. Like, as far as I was just I'm playing the video games. I was a baseball card dude too.
Yeah.
So I used to collect the cards. And I've introduced that's something I've also been able to pass down to my son that he seems to enjoy as well. So, but currently though, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a lot of young boys that I like as well. My favorite player, and Jose Ramirez. I think he's super underrated.
Yeah.
He plays the game. He's not underrated by baseball guys, but he's underrated by the casual fan. You know what I'm saying? Because he's not in a big market. He plays hard every time. Sometimes I think he takes the game too serious. I never even see him smile. You know what I mean? Like, he's so intense. He plays so hard, and I love that about Jose. I love Bobby Witt Jr. He's electric. You know what I mean? Yes. That's must-see TV for me. Ellie De La Cruz, of course. Of course, Mookie Betts. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to keep it down. I don't want to like name everybody, but like those are the guys that stick out to me. Those are my favorites. Like I have to Bobby Witt's on, if Jose on, Mookie on, Judge. You know what I mean? I like to watch those guys.
Yeah, those are must-see TV players right there. And
That's a fact.
man, you bringing up baseball cards. I actually went over to my parents' house last weekend and went up in the attic and found my old stash of baseball cards. I was like, wow, man, it
Yes,
took me
sir.
back. I mean, those baseball cards are, at the very least, they're probably about 30 years old now. I was like, I mean, it's a bunch of them that I completely forgot about. And just seeing,
Right.
thumbing through those old names, seeing like the aforementioned Pudge and seeing Ron Gant and Barry
Mhm.
Larkin card, I was like, man, I might have to get
Oh
back into
man,
this,
yeah.
man. And then you mentioned in your
My
son,
son's got me back into it.
yeah, and then you
Yeah.
mentioned in your son and how he's into baseball now. So was it easy for him to get attached to it, seeing you being such a fan of it?
Yeah. I tried not to force it on him. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I'm not really in a position to do so. Like I said, I did not experience any success at baseball at a high level at all. It's just I have a fondness for the game and enjoy watching it. You know what I mean? And naturally, when my son was born, as an infant, I mean, even from the time he could open his eyes, I'm watching baseball. He was born he was born September 19th. So this is the playoff races heating up. We hunting for October. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but since he could walk, I just been tossing the ball to him, and he just kind of never put it down, and he loves it. And if he didn't love it, that would be fine too. But he does love it, and that's great.
Dope, man. That's such a dope thing to hear,
Right.
especially with black fathers. I don't know too
There it
many,
is.
especially I don't know too many black fathers that really get their son into to see that their son has gravitated to baseball like their father. So kudos to you, man, for
Right.
for carrying the torch.
No doubt.
And
No doubt. No
how
doubt.
long
No doubt, man. Yeah.
so how long has he been playing?
Oh man. He's been playing organized ball since 2021. So we're in year 4 right now.
Tight, tight, man. So again, kudos to you for keeping the baseball fandom going. So now we're going
Yeah.
to get into the 5 question segment. So the first and last question are the same question I ask every guest I have on here. Questions 2 through 4 are 100% random. So question number 1, what
Right.
were Cordell's go-to school lunch items?
Go to school lunch items. Um, Man, that's a good one. Damn. Go to school lunch items. Ah, man. Now you talking like when I even like not packing lunch, like if you just went to the cafeteria, something you had to have.
Either or, doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay. When I was in middle school, they used to have these big chocolate chip cookies. You know what I mean? They used to have these big chocolate chip cookies. They was probably like $1. They were, I mean, ginormous. And I never wanted to OD, so I probably would do like 1 or 2 of them a week. I never experienced nothing like that before or after. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who was responsible for them cookies, but they was fire. That's why they were middle school.
Man, and what's funny is the last guest I had on, he said the exact same thing, almost verbatim.
I heard that.
I
I
was
heard
like,
I
man,
heard
that's
it, and I was
wild.
like, damn, you know what? Yeah, I relate for sure. Yeah.
All right, question number 2. What's your first musical memory?
Good one. Good one. My pops is really big into music, so probably, being in the car with him and just, watching how he would react to his favorite music. He one of them at the traffic light, he playing the drums on the steering wheel kind of dudes. You know what I'm saying? He was always singing. So those are probably my earliest memories.
Okay. Was there any song in particular that was his go-to that you remember?
Ooh. This is gonna be funny, and he might not appreciate me sharing this,
Let's
but I
go.
remember he really was into Monica just one of them days.
Hey, I ain't mad at him. That's a jam. That is a
It
jam.
is. It is.
Hey,
It
your
is.
father's got good taste.
Yeah, sure.
Question number
Yes, sir.
3.
He had the sob. Yeah, that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, keep
No,
talking
I
about
was
the
just saying. I'm
sob.
like, yeah. So yeah, that was the car he had, and I just remember him. You know, the Saab had the equalizer. Remember the cars used to have an equalizer, the little graphic equalizer, where you could
Yeah.
see it. You know, with the frequency of the music, the treble and the bass. And I remember watching the equalizer dance, and him, singing, singing them songs or whatever. So yeah, you know what I mean? Definitely.
All right. Question number 3. Have you ever called into a radio station to make a request for a song? And if so, what's the first song that you called in to request?
I have not done that. That is something I have not done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Then question number 4. This will make up for question number 3. What are your top 3 Combat Jack episodes?
Oh my God. Wow. Whoa. Were you a Combat Jack guy?
Big time, man. When I listened to your interview that you were just talking about and you mentioned Combat Jack, I'm like, all right, this is meant to be, because also, like you, I still have his old episodes that aren't on streaming. Like the first
Come on.
100 or some odd episodes are still in my hard drive on my old computer.
Come on now. Come on now. So this is a kindred spirit moment for sure. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
My top three Combat Jack episodes. Damn, I got to chill when you said that. You know what I'm saying? the Red Man episode, the first one.
Yeah.
This one is not on streaming. It was like 3 hours long.
Yes.
That was the first one I heard. Oh wow. The Red Man episode was a good one. Rock Marciano's first time up there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I really was into that episode. That was a really good one. And let me think of a third. This guy named Fonte from Little Brother, he had a really good one with Combat Jack, where I think that the other hosts weren't there. It was just Combat, Fonte, and Premium Pete. Yeah. But those are I'll say that without thinking too hard about it.
Okay. Word.
What about you?
Yeah.
You got favorites?
Yeah. My 1A and 1B is Ice-T and DMC. Then
okay.
Yeah, that Ice-T one was like watching a movie, man. That was a great interview. And that one was about 3 hours long too.
I'm gonna say that one as well. I'm subtracting. I'm gonna subtract the Fonte. Shout out to Fonte. No disrespect. Love you, brother. We're gonna put Ice-T in there. I agree.
Then I'll just count those two as one. Then gosh, of course the Dame Dash episode when he was clowning Just Blaze's his Jets jersey and the belt buckle and got Just in his feelings.
No, he was like, look at your hairline. Don't start. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was a good one. And then my third one, oh man. How on earth do I jam myself up with my own question? That's crazy. It was an episode with Bun B, Despot, and Freddie Gibbs that was really good too.
Oh, that's crazy. I remember all these episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, those are my 3. If you ask me that same question tomorrow, there'll probably be 3 different answers.
It'll be different. Yeah, nah, no doubt.
And then last question. What's the last thing that really made you laugh?
All right. I think it was something you shared on your story, brother. Barrington Levy doing the
Yeah.
I was at work dying.
And it hits so harder. Go ahead.
Yo, I was by myself in the stairwell on my break. Like I had tears coming out of my eye. I'm trying to like be quiet so I don't know. Yo, I was hollering, yo. Oh my God. So yeah, I would say that. You know what I mean?
And it hits so much harder when it's just him doing the acapella, just getting loose.
It was no background noise tonight. Like
no. He's just sitting there real comfortable in his element. Whoa. Scene.
It was the initial note. He just Yo, that took me out. That took me out, man. Yeah, I was dying. I said that to everybody.
Yo, so anything you want to plug and promote, or just tell the people where they can find you. The floors are all yours.
At _ just Cordell on Instagram, of course. Cordell Harris on Facebook. It's probably a lot of people with that name, but you see my face, you know what I mean? Yeah, so that's pretty much it, man. Like I said, I'm working on some music. I'm working on an album right now called Tales of Ordinary Madness. And I'm working on a mixtape too. I think I'm gonna do like a traditional mixtape before the album. And have me and my man DJ Herc and my man Showtime gonna put that together. So just kind of be on the lookout for that kind of stuff. And I don't know what you're looking at time wise, but I did want to get your opinion, like just about like the interest of baseball in our community. Like, how do we continue to engage or raise interest in our community for baseball? I mean, I think things like this are important, but I don't know if you had anything to elaborate or add on to that. You know what I'm saying, about just how do we grow Black baseball in 2025, in your opinion?
I say we spotlight the players that are really making the game, that are really just like standing out, and just like add a little seasoning to the game, so to speak. Like, I'll say players like Jazz Chisholm. I'll say players like Lawrence Butler with the A's. You got Hunter Green with the Reds.
Yep.
Man, Cedric Mullins with the Orioles. Just the young upstarts. Especially, I'm really keeping tabs on my guy James Wood with the Nationals. I really love his game.
You talking about Abrams?
No, his name is James Wood. I think he was a first round pick. Or
okay.
He was one of the Nats' top prospects, and he got called up last year. He was killing it in the minors.
Okay.
And
no doubt.
Yeah,
no
I
doubt.
got to see him actually. Speaking of PA, I went to my first Pirates home game, because that PNC Park was at the top of my sports bucket list. And I went there back in September and caught a game.
Go.
And they played the Nats. And boy, James Wood, he was raking in that game too. He was like 3 for 4 with 2 doubles. But yeah, those guys right there, I think they're
okay.
I think that's the new guard of Black players to watch in MLB. And I just think we just got to highlight those players. And
let me
go ahead.
No, my fault. I didn't mean to cut you. Do you think?
I was going to say, and I also got to give a shout out to my guy Cheats at Black Baseball Mixtape. He does an excellent job with highlighting a lot of the Black baseball players, because he put me onto a lot of players that I wasn't privy to. I wasn't familiar with Lawrence Butler before I listened to Cheats talking about him. And
right.
Yeah, he's an incredible, like, very valuable resource when it comes to keeping Black baseball alive. So I would say him.
Yes.
I'd also highlight Marvin Freeman as well. He was a former relief pitcher with the Braves, and he was with the Phillies. He pitched back in the 90s, and he has a baseball academy, or like a pitching academy, that he runs in Atlanta. And a lot of the people that came through his camp are currently, throwing in the majors right now. The person I'm watching the most out of his camp, actually, if you remember Marquise Grissom,
yes,
he used to play for the Braves back in the 90s. His son is a pitcher in the minors now. He used to pitch at Georgia Tech. He was Marquise Grissom Jr. Him, and the Rangers have a reliever that made the team this year. He was a September call-up last year by the name of Mark Church, and he's from Atlanta. Okay. He's a relief pitcher. Those are the players in his academy that I'm really keeping tabs on. So I say, Cheats and Marvin Freeman. I think his IG is called Freeman Baseball. Those are some of the people that are really at the forefront of really keeping Black baseball alive.
Okay, no doubt. Do you think? I think that the MLB is doing a great job at trying to engage Black folks. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like they seem, and it doesn't. And I want to spotlight this too. And again, I don't want to, ruin the efficiency of the episode. You know what I mean? Because I know we can
Go ahead, man.
go on and on. But all right, no doubt. I just think that it's important to spotlight. No disrespect to the NFL, but like I don't know how I be feeling when I be watching football games and then I see like end racism in the end zone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is that? Like, it seems cheap and it seems like pandering. And like I said, I want to spotlight the fact that the MLB does not do that. They seem passionate about engaging, engaging African American viewers, and I think that it's important. And again, we're talking about a game where when I was a kid, when you was a kid, like the league was like almost 40% Black. You know what I'm saying? That we were well represented all throughout the league, and I just think that baseball does a great job at trying to engage us. But I'm gonna ask you another question: what do you think caused the decrease in interest amongst our community in baseball?
I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of these with like baseball, just the cost of it. Just I think a lot of them, a lot of the young kids, they end up getting priced out because equipment is expensive. Bats are expensive, gloves are expensive. Basketball, really all you need is a basketball and maybe and a pair of sneakers. But
pair of sneakers, right?
Baseball. I mean, I don't know what the cost of it is now, but I mean, even when I was playing Little League, it wasn't cheap. It wasn't cheap at all.
Right.
So I would say a lot of them I think a lot of it has to deal with just kids getting priced out, and there's a lot of families that may not be able to afford the equipment. And then on top of that, you also got travel baseball teams too, and that's another heavy expense.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I'm about to be at that point where I'm gonna have to, my son, if he wants to continue to do this, at the highest level, travel baseball has got to be a part of it. But like you said, it's unfortunate because we get priced out. You know what I mean? Economics come into play, and it's not affordable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not affordable.
But I also like to piggyback on what you said about the MLB. I think they are doing a really good thing with the RBI academies and just going into these predominantly Black communities and basically meeting the kids halfway, meeting them where they are, and just getting them immersed into the game of baseball at a young age. I think I think that's going to prove to be a really a fertile proving ground to developing these baseball players for the future.
I agree. We have an RBI program around my way. You know what I'm saying? And I've noticed over the years, even on my son's team, that, there's been a lot of, more black and brown kids signing themselves up and enjoying the game and developing that passion for the game. What I have a concern about sometimes is, nobody can predict the future, but my boys amongst my generation, amongst my friends, I'm really the only serious baseball head. And I've always, I catch a lot of flack because of it. I mean, a lot of my boys be joking, be like, "Oh man, nobody trying to watch this, man. Cordell the only, you know what I mean? Want to sit there and watch a baseball game." And I hope that these young kids, these young Black and brown kids who are discovering this passion for this beautiful game are not discouraged by other kids that look like them, that make them feel like, so if somebody's listening to this right now and they got kids that's playing baseball, like if you want to clip this and share this, do not be discouraged. You know what I'm saying? Baseball is a wonderful game, and it's a thinking man's game. It's a game that teaches you patience. Everything that people don't like about it, that's what I love about it. I like the fact that it moves slow. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't have to worry. You don't have to. It's like chess. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways, it's gradual to
Exactly.
build up. You know, it's about all of the little moments inside of the moments. And don't be discouraged, you know, because I know how our people can be, you know, and I'm sure you know as well, you know what I mean, with the jokes. And I makes me think of The Wood, one of my favorite movies, when they asked Big Mike, when he said, "You play ball?" And he said, "I play baseball." And he said, "Oh man, that's that." But he said,
The
"That
white
white
boy
boy
Ricky
Ricky Schroeder
Schroeder
shit."
shit.
You know? Yeah. So I think when I was coming up, as I got older, once I got into my adolescent years, that was the impression of baseball amongst my friends. You know what I'm saying? This game is not for us. We play basketball. We play, and I'm like, damn, bro, do you Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Ken Griffey Jr., Reggie Jackson, none of these names. You know what I mean? Like this was a sport that we accept. We have such a rich history in this game. And I just that cannot get lost on us, man. And again, I don't want nobody who's listening who is not black to kind of be like, what does it matter? Or like, I'm gonna direct another question to you, you know what I'm saying? Because you have this platform.
Go ahead.
Help explain to someone else who that does not look like yourself or myself. Provide more nuance to the conversation as to why we're the encouragement of an increase in interest in black baseball is not a discouragement to anybody else of any other, you know, demographic. Like, you know, it doesn't mean that those players are less important, or, you know what I mean? It's not one of them things. Like, I still love baseball and have, so it don't matter who's playing and who's not playing. But try to explain. I think you kind of get what I'm alluding to. Like,
Yeah.
someone may be offended, like, well, what do it matter if ain't no black players playing baseball? Why are y'all going so hard at trying to emphasize why that's important? You know what I mean? Can you
Because
further explain or better articulate?
because representation matters. I mean, it's a cliche statement, but it's 1,000% true. Representation matters. I remember
Right.
getting into baseball through my grandparents, and my grandparents, no, they were huge Atlanta Braves fans. Honestly, a lot of my other fellow black friends were also into baseball because their elders grew up watching the Atlanta Braves. And you know, having like older relatives in my family that played baseball in high school, and then after high school, their communities would have local baseball teams that really consisted of all black players because we all lived in black neighborhoods. And every
Right.
Sunday they would go to each other's neighborhood to have tournaments and have games and stuff. So it was like it was just keeping that feel of black baseball alive. And you know, it's all about carrying that tradition over to the future generations. And I don't want that to get lost because that was a very valuable time period for me because they immersed me in the game of baseball, and then I can take what I learned and what I experienced and then do everything in my power to pass that on to the next generation. And I don't want people that aren't black and brown to feel ostracized just because we're simply talking about black baseball players. We're just simply talking about things from our perspective, things that we grew up watching again, and things that we grew up
Absolutely.
seeing. You know, seeing players that look like us that excelled at the sport. You know, that kind of stuff. It sticks with you, and you want to continue to see people that look like us continue to excel because of what we
Right.
experienced in the past. Always want to keep that cycle going forward.
I completely 100,000% agree. And I think that was perfectly stated. Representation matters. You know, I like you, my grandparents were older, and they would tell me, you know, these vivid stories about going to Negro League games and how it was, you know, it was like the cool thing to do, like going to a Negro League baseball game on a Sunday, and everybody would be there dressed to the nines. And it would, again, this game is such a rich part of our history.
Yes.
It's the only sport where we created our own league. That's how
That's
bad we
true.
wanted to play.
Yes.
That's how much we cared about this game. You know what I'm saying? We had enough interest and passion for this game that we created our own league. You know what I mean? And I think because we're so far removed from that time, I don't know. Like I said, it's jokes is jokes. It is what it is. Like I said, my boys, they be having a lot of jokes about me being a baseball fan, but it is sort of, and I want to pick my words carefully here because I don't want you to disrespect my homeboys, but it's ignorant. It's ignorant to just kind of have the perspective like, man, we baseball and black people don't. Man, with baseball, that ain't us. It was all we had. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was all we had. And I don't want that to get lost. So I've always do you think that we're making improvements?
I do.
No doubt.
I do.
No doubt. I think you're right. I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good spot to close at if it works for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it works for me. But before we go, man, you
Okay.
speaking of the new project, you shot me a song yesterday that I've thoroughly enjoyed because you kept the baseball motif going with it, and you talking about basically it's like a trilogy of being rejected
Yes.
by a woman, and the way that you tied it up into using baseball metaphors and things like that, and then on top of that, the cherry on top was you used a trilogy of beats by MF Doom, and I was like,
Right.
man, I love this. So, man, please talk about what went into creating that song Slump.
I have been wanting to. I always try to intersect baseball and hip hop, whether it's through a one-line reference or something I'm wearing. But I knew that I wanted to challenge myself. Shout out to the GZA from the Wu-Tang Clan. So if anybody listening is a Wu-Tang head or a GZA head, every album GZA had these themed songs where he would, like on the first album, he had labels where he referenced a bunch of different record labels and used them in clever ways. Then he had a song called Fame where he used a bunch of celebrities. He had a song called Animal Planet where he used a bunch of animals. So he inspired the idea of, let me see if I can use some baseball references. I don't think I did it as well as GZA did it, because I didn't use as many. Like he would have probably used like all of the teams or something like that. So I was thinking of GZA, and I was thinking of Main Source and Large Professor with the Friendly Game of Baseball. And I was like, okay, how can I take that and tell a story of humility and still make the baseball connection? Because baseball, I always hear people say baseball is a game of failure. You know what I'm saying? Like you talking about a game where if you get a hit 30% of the time, you're one of the best hitters in the game.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So oftentimes in hip hop, there's this bravado and machismo where everybody gets the girl, everybody's the tough guy. And I'm like, damn, like I don't know about anybody else's experiences, but I've been rejected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just think that it's a lot like baseball. You're going to strike out. And again, I don't want to filibuster too much, but I do want to say rest in peace to my homeboy, my man, Ooh. You know what I'm saying? Love you and miss you dearly. And I remember getting advice from him about females. And he asked me, he said, Cordell, how many girls you think I've been with? I said, I don't know, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. You the man. You know what I mean? And he said, but do you know how many I tried to get with? And he gave some hyperbolic, like thousands. Like I done tried to get in a bunch of them. You know what I mean? My percentage is awful, but I just keep swinging. You know what I mean? I keep swinging. So I wanted to tell a story that showed some humility and also, hey man, you know what I mean? Like you don't always get the girl. and that's okay. And I don't think that there's enough humility. Humility and rap don't go together, and it sucks because it should, because there's a lot of ego in rap and in the Black community, period. And I think we do ourselves a disservice. So that's why I wanted to tell that story. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's such a great way to wrap this episode up. So, Cordell, man, pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much for being a guest on here, man.
No doubt.
We got to do this again.
Absolutely. Anytime you want to do it, holler at me, man. Let me know. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. And man, we got to do a Combat Jack, just a strictly Combat Jack episode too.
Come on, brother. Let me know. You know what I'm saying? Let me know. I'm with it.
Yes, sir. You already got the invitation. So thank y'all for listening. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. Subscribe to my YouTube page. You can find it at Danny Foxworth 843. There you can find episodes for this podcast, as well as my Candle podcast, A Wicked Good Time with Danny Foxworth, my other podcast, Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth, and Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny. And for Cordell and myself, this has been another episode of At the Plate. And until next time, y'all be good. 3 strikes.
Peace.